Today, we're going to hear 4 inspiring stories of people from all walks of life, perhaps somebody you can relate to on how they are crushing it on Amazon. How cool is that? Pretty cool, I think. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Serious Sellers Podcast by Helium 10. I am your host, Bradley Sutton, and this is the show that's a completely BS-free, unscripted, and unrehearsed organic conversation about serious strategies for serious sellers of any level in the Amazon or Walmart world. And what we have today is a special episode because I'm going to give you some clips of some interviews that were in one of our recent webinars that they called Real People, Real Profits. I like to call these kind of interviews, though, from average Joes and average Sallys. Why do I say that? These people who we are interviewing, they're not average by any stretch of the imagination. They're crushing it in their own ways. But the reason why I like calling them average Joes and average Sallys is because they're kind of like the person next door, your next door neighbor. They could be you. You know, they could be a relative you have. They could have been you a couple of years ago. These people come from all different walks of life, and they did not have special knowledge. These people are not like huge influencers. They're not trying to sell you a course, by being on the show. They don't run multi-million-dollar agencies. We do love having those kind of people on the show, like Kevin King and Tim Jordan and Brandon Young and people who can be considered like influencers. All right. We absolutely love having them on the show to get their strategy. But in my experience, what I find is I learn from them. I learn from those strategies they're using, but I don't necessarily place myself in like maybe a Brandon Young's shoes, right? Because I'm like, man, Brandon Young is doing like 8-9 figures. He's got like a team of like 35 people. That's just not me. Like, I just want to learn what he's doing, right? But these people that I interviewed, these are people that I hope you can relate to. Today we're going to talk to somebody who got started on Amazon in his 50s. All right, we're gonna have somebody who got started on Amazon in his teens. We're gonna have a military veteran. We're gonna have somebody who came from a 6-figure sales job and left it all behind for Amazon. So these are people from all different walks of life. And then the main goal with these interviews is to get you inspired. Like, maybe you're on the fence. You're like, I'm not sure if I should sell on Amazon or not because I don't think I'm qualified. Well, hopefully when you see the success of these individuals who came from maybe a similar place that you're in, it might change your mind. If you guys have been listening to the podcast for a long time, all 4 of these next interviewees have been on the podcast at one time or the other. So make sure to go check out their full episodes if some part of their story inspires you. So let me go ahead and give you guys this first couple of interviews. And this first couple ones are with Paul and Salman. Here we go. One of the big excuses I hear out there sometimes is the age thing. All right. It goes both ways as well. There's people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. They think, I'm too old now to get started on Amazon. I can't do this. I can't teach an old dog new tricks. On the flip side, there's young people like, hey, I need to graduate college before I can think about e-commerce. I need to graduate high school before I can get into e-commerce. So what I've done is I've brought a couple of individuals that we've had on the podcast before. They're not average, but I call them average Joes because their origin stories are definitely average as far as I'm sure a lot of you out there might be in a similar situation. Now, they're at the opposite end of the age spectrum. They're opposite ends of the world. Their connection to Amazon is completely different. The culture is different. However, they kind of are in the same situation now as they're well embedded into the e-commerce world. So our first guest here is probably maybe one of the more familiar faces that we're going to have on today's video because Paul has been on the podcast a couple of times. I've known him for a number of years now. Paul, it's great to have you back.
Hey, Bradley, great to be with you again.
All right. Now, Paul, you're known for a number of different things, especially your prowess in licensing and bringing your Cozy Phone brand to Nickelodeon and things like that. But I want to go back in time, all right, before you even got into the Amazon world. I want to get into your backstory a little bit. If I'm not mistaken, you're in the military for a number of years, and then you got into the restaurant franchise business. Can you talk about that journey before you got into e-commerce, your origin story?
Sure, Bradley. Well, I know that I'm going to definitely date myself, but that's kind of the purpose of the show today. And to be honest, I'm not sure whether I should be insulted or grateful to be in the old guy category.
Now, hold on, Paul. Don't be putting words in my mouth here. I did not say you were an old guy.
I know that I'm on the old of the spectrum. Okay, so I'm going to tell you, Bradley, I was probably started out my career graduating high school, maybe before you were born in 81.
Yeah, I was already around in 81, just a little bit out of diapers.
So you were around. So I went straight out of high school into the Marine Corps, where I spent 11 years in the Marine Corps. And honestly, I had this entrepreneurial drive the whole time I was in. I was always reading books on real estate and other business opportunities. The whole time I was in, I couldn't wait to get out and start chomping at the bit to become an entrepreneur. When I first got out, I started working for a small entrepreneurial firm for a while, and then eventually opened my own video production company, where we were doing like military training videos and things like that. Eventually, I sold that company and decided that I wanted to try my hand in franchising instead of trying to build it from scratch. So I got into a pizza franchise called Cece's Pizza. I ran that for about 12 years. I had 3 stores in 3 different states that I operated. And around 2015, that business was struggling for a variety of factors. And I was looking for a new opportunity. And that's when I discovered Amazon.
That's a pretty long journey before you even got to Amazon. What about you guys out there? Did you go from one thing to the other, over a span of 20 to 30 years like Paul did? That might have got you thinking, hey, I don't think I can get into e-commerce. I've been doing something for a long time. Anyways, Paul, we're going to get back to you in a little bit. We're going to go up to the other end of the spectrum right now, as far as the age factor goes, on the other side of the world in Pakistan. And we're going to invite our next guest, Salman, up. He's so young, I'm not even sure his parents were alive in 1981 when Paul graduated high school. Salman, how old are you now?
I'm 17 now.
Okay, so 17 years old now. What about when you got into e-commerce? How old were you then?
I was 15 years old.
All right, now at the time you got started, I'm pretty sure that, even if you wanted to, you couldn't sell on Amazon USA, registering from Pakistan. It wasn't on the approved country list. It actually is now. Plus, it takes a lot of money to get started. So what was the path that you took?
So the route I took was I became a service provider. I became an Amazon VA before I could, invest my own money and risk it because being in Pakistan, we have to invest a lot of money into PL because Amazon is not in our state. We have to do FBA at all costs. So it was really very expensive ordering a huge amount of units from China, and the shipping rates, the product rates, they were really, really high. So we needed an investment of around $20,000 to $25,000, which I did not have at that time. So I became a VA instead, and I still am a VA, and I have my own Kindle launches on Amazon as well, but no product launches still.
So, here in the United States, like 15, 16 years old, if you're working, you're, maybe working at McDonald's or fast food or mowing lawns or things like that, probably making minimum wage. But in Pakistan, if you're 15, 16 years old and you're working, what's the typical job that you might be doing?
Someone my age does not work in Pakistan because the mindset over here is nowhere close to what it is in the USA. People over here think that our kids do not need to work until they are 25 or 20 or 28 or something, because over here there's only one provider for the family, and that is their fathers. Only they provide for their families, even if they have 10 kids, even if they have 5 kids, they are the only one who provide for their families. That is the mindset over here. And it is still the mindset over here of people that they do not need to work until they're 25 or 28 or 30.
Wow. Okay. So not only did you have an age barrier, but you also had a cultural barrier, since it's, I didn't realize that in your country, usually the the teenagers don't work in the family. It's actually the father or the husband is the principal breadwinner. Now we're going to get back to you in a little bit. Let's go back to Paul now for a couple seconds here. Now Paul, without completely aging yourself, were you in your 40s or 50s when you made that switch from that restaurant world to Amazon?
So it was 2015 is when I started selling my first products on Amazon. And I would have been 54 at that time.
All right. Now, how did it feel, Paul? So long in the military, getting used to that, and then so long in the restaurant business, over a decade, going from managing CC's Pizza to completely flipping the switch and going into e-commerce. I imagine that was kind of a scary transition.
Yeah. Well, I had in the CC's Pizza era, which was about 11 years, I had a total of 70 employees and about 10 different managers. And it was a wonderful time while it lasted, but the concept kind of suffered over time. And looking at Amazon was really a plan B for me. Hey, what am I going to do if this doesn't work out? And so it was really exciting. I'm a geek at heart. I was building my own computers in the mid 80s and, watched the birth of the internet. And so, man, putting together ways to make money and the internet together was fascinating for me.
I love it. Absolutely love it. All right, let's go ahead and switch back to Salman for a little bit now. Now, Salman, I remember your story about how you got started in e-commerce. Now, you were going through a tough time in your life, you're depressed, and your dad was getting upset that you were only watching Netflix right in your room and staying in your room all day. He told you to do something different. So you found a certain YouTube video, right?
So I found this YouTube channel where its title was How I Make Money, How I Make a 100K Online. So I watched that video. It was about content writing. So it really motivated me. I thought that my English is good. I can write essays or articles or stories or books. So I entered into e-commerce via content writing. I wrote enormous articles. I wrote tons of articles for international forum. Its name was the Sun magazine. So I wrote around 2,000 articles for them in 2 months. And they did not accept a single one of them until they accepted one article, and the first payment of my entire life when I was 15 years old was $1,600. So that was the point where I got even more motivated. And before entering into e-com, I was making around $500 to $600 every month. And when I came into e-commerce via enablers, I did their VA course, and the Amazon journey started from Feb 2020. I was learning Amazon by myself. Then I started the course in June 2020, and I got my first client in July 2020, even before my course ended.
All right. So for your agency, that you went ahead and started, what are some of the services that you guys offer?
We're offering 20 services like PL, wholesale, Kindle, Etsy, Walmart, eBay, and US company formations, LTD formations, and website development, software development, financial consultations, etc. So now my team I have 22 employees and working under me, and our revenue is about to cross 1.2 million within one financial year.
Wow, that's a lot of employees. Now, that 1 million, that's Pakistani rupees. About how much is that per month in US dollars?
That is around $6,900.
All right. So now you said, people your age don't usually work. So what about just the typical worker at all, like an adult, like in maybe a lower end office job? Like how much would they be making per month in Pakistan?
If you talk about beginner level jobs, they are like even lesser than $250. And even if you talk about high level jobs like a manager or someone or a general manager, he is making around $500 to $600, or you could say $1,000 if he is in a very big or international firm.
Wow. So that's like 5, 10 times as much your agency is generating in revenue than the typical adult office worker in your country. That is impressive. So speaking of revenue, let's go ahead and switch back to Paul. So, fast forward all of what you had been talking about. Now you started selling on Amazon, middle of or around 2015 or so. What are you up to in what you've grossed as far as revenue goes? Are we talking 7 figures? Are we talking 8 figures? Roughly how much?
I think we're getting close to 20 million on Amazon now since I first started in 2015.
Wow, 20 million. So think it's maybe safe to say that you do not regret making that decision to switch to e-commerce from the restaurant business, huh?
No, it was phenomenal, man. And, I remember going to SellerCon. I think you and I spent some time in SellerCon in Orlando. And after my talk down there, I had several old guys come up to me and say, Paul, we really appreciate, your perspective on this, because they were in my same shoes. And it's pretty scary to think about starting a whole new thing or starting over at 50 years old. And they were inspired, and I was happy to inspire them.
All right. I love it. I love it. Now, like you said, you've talked to other people who are in your shoes, they're at SellerCon. Now, what about somebody who might be watching this right now, who might have been in your shoes? Maybe they're in their 40s, maybe they're in their 50s, maybe they're in their 60s. They've been doing something else for a while. What would you tell them if maybe they're feeling a little bit hesitant to think because of my age, I don't know if I could do e-commerce? What would be your message to them?
You know what, Bradley, not the other day, but a couple of weeks ago, I was at AMZ Innovate in New York, and I was inspired by the couple sitting in front of me, looked like they were in their 70s. I thought, wow, when did these guys get started? So, you set your own limitations, right? And it's a matter of what you can learn, really. It's all about learning. And, and not to, inhibit yourself by saying, well, I've got these habits or those habits. You can learn. If you can learn, you can earn.
All right, Paul, thank you so much again for your words of wisdom here. You're always a very inspiring story, about your journey to e-commerce, and, you show that really anything's possible regardless of your age. So we're definitely going to be following you as you continue on your journey, and thanks for coming on here.
Thank you, Bradley. Appreciate the opportunity. All
right, so let's switch back to Salman now. Salman, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Paul. So maybe there's families out there who have teenage kids or young adults, and they're kind of hesitant to get started selling on Amazon, or they think that maybe they're too young to get started in e-commerce. What would be your message to those young people out there who might have been in your situation that you were a couple of years ago?
Basically, what I think is there is no age barrier. You can do whatever you want, even if you are very young or if you're very old. I've seen success stories of 60-year-old, 65-year-old, even the kid you met before a little time ago. He was publishing books on Kindle. He was 7 years old. So I don't think there is an age barrier at all. It's all about the mindset. We need to change our mindset. Our parents need to change their mindset, because what their mindset is our kids do not need to work at all, because we are the providers for our family, which I discussed before. So before changing the mindsets of the youngsters or the teenagers, we need to change the mindset of their parents.
Interesting. So you're not just talking to the young people out there, but also any parents who have, teenagers or maybe early kids in their early 20s. Maybe think about what you're encouraging your kids to do or not do, as the case may be. Well, Salman, I would like to thank you two again for coming on here. Very inspiring to see how much you've accomplished at such a young age, and we're definitely going to be watching your journey as well. So what did you guys find inspiring about Paul or Salman? They both overcame obstacles that maybe other people don't overcome. Salman had cultural issues, where people don't normally do what he did in his country. Paul, could have easily looked and said, you know what, I've been doing this restaurant thing for a while. I'm in my 50s now. There's no way I'm going to learn e-commerce. I bet a lot of people in their 50s might have reasoned that way, but he didn't. Right. So if you guys are in similar situations as them, what can you learn from their examples? Now, these next two are a couple favorites from our old podcast episodes that we've done. One is a former veteran who thought he had to do this crazy menial to him job when he got out of the military. And the other one is from the opposite. She came from, university degree and six-figure sales salary. And why did she go to Amazon? So let's hear their story now. I didn't plan it, but they're both of their names starts with S. As a matter of fact, Shan-Chan has two names that start with S. I really want to make S the theme here. But first up, we've got Sharon. Now, Sharon, tell us just, like your 1 minute backstory, like, what you thought you'd be when you grew up, what you ended up doing for 20 years, what you thought you were going to have to do when you stopped that, and then how you got into e-commerce.
Okay, so 18 years and 5 days old, I joined the United States Navy, did that for 22 years. If you can imagine, 22 years of having a stable check every 1st and 15th is something you get used to. I did not take advantage of college while I was in there. I was too busy protecting the nation. So when I got out, I thought to become a GameStop manager or a Walmart greeter to supplement the potential pension that I would get from the military. Found a guy who put me onto Amazon, and I've been doing Amazon for about 4 years now. Next May will be 4 years. Since then, I've grossed over $1 million and doing well.
Awesome. So you're, a couple years of selling on Amazon, million so far. So like, what would you say, like average, like $400,000 to $500,000 gross revenue per year?
The first 18 months is all about building. So last year I hit 440,000. This year I'm going to hit 430,000. So I think I'm starting to plateau with this one product that I have, and I think that's all I need.
Okay. Awesome. I mean, and that's your full-time gig right now. That's your main income, right? Excellent. All right. Now, Shan-Chan, what about you? What's your 1 minute story? Like, what did you think you were going to be when you graduated college, if you went to college, and what was like your first job, and how did you make that transition to e-commerce?
Sure. Yeah. So after I graduated college, I went into sales, tech sales, and I rode that wave at different companies until I moved from Vancouver, Canada, to USA. And I was doing that, but I was obsessed with the idea of passive income. And I knew for a year that I wanted to do e-commerce, and I watched YouTube videos, hundreds of YouTube videos about it before I finally decided on April 4th, when the Surgeon General said, everybody should wear face masks. That's when I was like, my first product is going to be face masks. And,
so you started right at the beginning of the pandemic then?
Yes, on April 4th. Thank you, Surgeon General.
Wow. Okay. So that's we have one person here who went from being in the military for years and years, transitioning to e-commerce, and you went from the sales market for tech and going to now, did you start on Amazon, or did you start on another platform?
I actually started on Etsy.
Etsy. Okay. So Etsy. But either way, still e-commerce, still online marketplace. But you could see they have ended up kind of almost in the same boat here as far as, what they're doing now, coming from completely different educational backgrounds. As Sharon said, he didn't even attend university or college. Shan-Chan did. And, completely different and ending up in the same space. Now, we just mentioned Etsy with Shan-Chan here. Sharon, have you tried out any other marketplaces yourself?
Yeah, this year I actually branched out, started to diversify. Around May, I started out with Shopify, and just September I opened up on Walmart. So I'm on my own website, and I'm in Walmart right now.
Okay. And Shan-Chan, what about you? Etsy, Amazon, any other marketplaces for you?
I also have Poshmark, Shopify, and increasing rapidly is Walmart. They just accepted me into their Walmart fulfillment program, which is like Amazon FBA. And after joining that program, my sales immediately doubled. So Sharon, definitely join their program.
All right. You're going to have to check that out. Now, both of you, I believe, this is like your main income now. And, it proves you don't have to be a 8-figure seller to be able to have e-commerce as your main income. But, Sharon, for you, this is probably a big change from being a Walmart greeter, as you thought you were going to have to be when you got out of the military. What are some things that you've been able to do over the last year or two financially that you probably would not have been able to do had you gone on your original, what you thought was going to be your career path?
That's a good question. Of course, having a wife and kids, telling, your family that you're going to start a business is a big jump, and that you need, $15,000 to start it, from the $30,000 that I had saved up for a house is a shock to the plan. And my wife finally agreed, over a week or two of agreeing to let me go this way. She finally let me do it. So at the beginning of year 3 is when I first started to notice that I can comfortably take out a set amount of salary for myself. And my first year's salary, I went out and I just bought her a brand new car cash as a thank you gift. A 21 Toyota Camry. That's what she wanted. Thank God it wasn't something bigger than that.
Very nice.
And I've never heard of anybody in my family being able to pay outright in full a brand new car. And I think that was a good thank you gift to her, is to, thank you for letting me go through my passion to provide for this family.
I love it. Now, Shan-Chan, what a lot of your products are, you do face masks. I know you do like socks and different things like that. If you were to estimate how many units you have sold, not dollars, but how many units you have sold, like how many face masks total, how many pairs of socks, what are we talking about? Like, 10,000 more, what, less, 100,000?
My guess would probably be 20,000.
About 20,000. Okay. Mm-hmm. Tell me, how does it feel to know that there are tens of thousands of people walking around out there using a product that you yourself imagined and created?
It feels amazing, especially since it's face mask. And I joke, and this is completely a joke, high respect to the first responders. But my boyfriend's a doctor, and I joke that maybe I have also saved lives. Because if I had put 10,000 masks on people, that could have saved their life.
Yeah. There you go. And then it's amazing. I don't know if or Sharon. I know what Sharon's product is. I don't think it's something that you would actually see walking down the street. But I don't know if this has happened to you, Shan-Chan. But it wasn't my product. I was just working for a company. This is like 6-7 years ago, and it was a cell phone case. And these guys were doing ridiculous numbers. They were selling like every day like 1,000 cell phone cases a day, more than 1,000 cell phone cases a day. And so let me tell you, the first time I was in I'll never forget. I was in a post office. And I was just looking, and how people are in lines in post offices, they're looking on their phones, right? I'm like, oh my goodness, that's our phone case. Like, and me personally, I was the logistics guy at the time. Like in those days, I didn't know anything about Amazon except how to send stuff to FBA and put stickers on it. But I was like, I guarantee that my hands were on that case because I either packaged it to go to FBA or I packaged it as a fulfilled by merchant order. And there's a person who went out and bought that product and they're using it. Like I even went up to, I was like, hey, where'd you get that product? They're like, Amazon's like, yep, I knew that. but guys, like, can you imagine if that ever happened? Like if you see someone with your socks just walking down the street or your mask, Shan-Chan, like how that would make you feel?
That I would feel exactly like you because I have also touched all of them. Like I think I've packed, 20,000 products myself with my bare hands. So that's it's really cool, and I hope to grow it more and get it into the hands of more people.
Now back to Sharon. There are many who might have been in your military boots, as you were like 3 years ago, who's like, man, I don't, maybe they didn't think they were going to be a GameStop manager or Walmart greeter, but they might be unsure. They might not even have a plan of what they're going to do when they get out. So it's not to say that I'm sure you're not going to say, oh, every single veteran out there needs to consider selling on Amazon. But what would you tell other veterans out there or people who are about to get out of the military? What would you tell them to encourage them to maybe give selling on e-commerce a try? Like, why would you suggest doing that?
Oh, okay. Well, for starters, it is very easy to start up an e-commerce business when you have a job. When you have a job that's paying for all your bills and you don't have to worry about the risk you take with ads or the risk you take with this one product as much as somebody who doesn't have a job. So I always encourage my fellow Chiefs veterans that your last year or two before you get out, you're already developing a plan to succeed after the military. Why not consider passive income while you're considering your path? And passive income, as Shan-Chan said, is great, man. It's really great. And while you have a job, you can devote some of your time. It's not time consuming as much, right? It's not as much time consuming as a 10-hour, 12-hour day at a job, right? Devote 4 or 5 hours right when you get home from the military, build your business. And by the time you get out, if this is something that you want to create as your primary source of income, go for it. You know, the risks are minute when you have a stable job. Mm-hmm. So give it a try.
Okay. And then you, Shan-Chan, you actually come from what some people would consider, or not some people, most people would consider like, hey, this is a pretty, stable job. I think you had like a 6-figure income back in the day in the sales industry. But why would you encourage people then to still like, hey, if you're under what circumstances would you consider somebody, hey, you might want to, check out selling online, even though you quote unquote made it in the corporate world? What kind of people would you suggest to consider selling online?
So one of my favorite quotes is from Warren Buffett. He said, try to find your form of play career. And I love that because I think Sharon's right. Don't quit your job. But one of the things, side hustles that you can do after work is e-commerce. It's perfect for that. And once it grows big enough, you can wake up every day and be excited. There were times in the past when I felt like I lived for the weekend. Like I just worked Monday to Friday and then finally the weekend was here and I was so happy. But now every day feels like a weekend. So, if you can work after work and start your e-commerce business, you can get to that lifestyle.
I love it. All right, guys. So here we have another 2 individuals, completely different educational and life and work backgrounds. Again, ending up in the same similar place, selling hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on different marketplaces online. Anybody can do this, guys. And it doesn't have to be, I need to like quit my day job and just go all in. I need to just get out of the military and just go into Amazon. I mean, people from all walks of life can achieve whatever level of success they're looking to get on Amazon. So here we've got 2 examples that are crushing it, and it's going to be exciting to see what you guys are going to be doing next year. So thank you again, Sharon and Shan-Chan, and we'll reach out to you next year and see where you guys are at.
Thank you. Have a great one.
Thanks, guys.
All right. I hope you guys enjoyed these 4 interviews. Like I said, I call them average Joes, average Sallys, because really they could be any one of us, right? And could they have been you? Are any of you out there perhaps in a similar situation as them? Hope this inspired you to take action if you haven't taken action yet. So if you like these, you're going to like our next 2. So in the very next episode, we're going to have 4.5 more interviews. That half you guys are going to understand what that's about when you listen to it. So in the next episode, we're going to have 4 more interviews from people with a complete different set of backgrounds than these ones that you saw in this one. So if these didn't inspire you, hopefully that next episode will.